Hello and welcome to Back to the Feature, the show we talk about movies past, present, and future. Today we are talking about the newest film in one of our favorite franchises of all time. We're talking about Alien Covenant. Alien Covenant is the return of Ridley Scott to the Alien franchise after his last outing, Prometheus, didn't do quite as well with audiences, I think, as he hoped. This one definitely is the return of the Xenomorph and a little more of a traditional Alien movie. So, John, what did you think going into Alien Covenant?
You know, going into it, well, I really enjoyed Prometheus. I thought I was maybe one of the fewer people that really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, besides people trying to play with space cobras, I think that there's a lot of good things in there. I think it's a pretty decent movie. Not the greatest, but definitely not awful.
Yeah, not a masterpiece, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. So going into this, I was really excited to see where Ridley Scott would take this prequel story. I really wanted to see what happened with David going forward, and I was pretty disappointed with this movie. Overall, it's a pretty big letdown.
Yeah, I can't say that I really enjoyed this movie very much. So, John, what were the elements then that really kind of fueled this
disappointment?
Yeah, disappointment.
I didn't hate the movie, but it's... Oh, man. The characters. There's this... Like, Billy Crudup is an awesome actor. I always love seeing him pop up, Dr. Manhattan. But, like, he was a man of faith in this movie, and Ridley Scott, please stop trying to write these characters. It's bad. It's just... It was so, like, just...
He was the Hotel Bible of characters.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying.
Yeah, it was really. I felt like a really sad attempt at trying to put something extra behind it, and they just really didn't flesh out that character whatsoever.
He was a gas station rosary. You're right. Yeah, that was disappointing. I think that they didn't quite give enough of these characters. I think especially with a lot of the more of the supporting characters, they didn't really give enough. I think for us to really care about a lot of them. But I think that it doesn't matter because I think at the end of the day, they really let this movie devolve down into some very basic horror tropes, which, I mean, for Ridley Scott, to me, is disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't want to give any spoilers out, but this movie, if you're expecting, like, a straight-up alien movie, this is not an alien movie. They really did take that name... to get people in seats. This is more Prometheus sequel than anything, which we knew, but with the alien tag on it, we probably thought xenomorphs are going to be more prominent throughout the film, and it's really more of a tease, I felt like.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a lot of screen time, but in my eyes, this was not an alien movie. It's more of a Prometheus sequel.
They definitely try to answer those questions that Prometheus brought up, which I thought were interesting questions.
It's intriguing, yeah.
And I think it's an interesting concept, the idea of, where, your creator and where you come from as a species and trying to add that extra layer. What if we created something? And then you have this really interesting look at like this, the human like biology and like and history, and then I really don't like the answers to the questions.
Yeah,
I don't like a lot of the things that they end up choosing to do with it. I really like the Xenomorph from the first 3 movies, and I really like the lore that had been built up. I don't think that Prometheus really derails that too much, but they think they really changed some things here with the Xenomorph and where it came from that I wasn't a fan of. So, John, what were then some of the positives maybe that you had from Alien Covenant?
Some of the obvious initial, positive thing is Ridley Scott knows how to direct science fiction. You're going to get great special effects in this movie. For the most part, the Xenomorphs did look really good. Now, I was trying to pick out the practical effects and the practical suits. It was mostly CGI, but the CGI looked pretty tight. It looked pretty good.
I was surprised how much I liked the look of the CGI Xenomorph. Yeah. I was very against it kind of at first, but I thought in general, that looked a lot better than I thought. There was some things, though, with the way that it moved that maybe particularly I wasn't a fan of, especially some of the ways that would make it stand. Looked kind of weird and not what we were kind of used to seeing from the Xenomorph. I made it look like he was trying to think of, what he was going to cook for dinner when he got home after work. Like, there was some times where I just really didn't like kind of some of the ways that they were showing the xenomorph, but maybe showing maybe a little too much, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Kind of like ruining the mystique that the first Alien is so great because we don't see
Yep.
all of the xenomorphs.
Just
And
a
even in
hand or,
Aliens,
like, you know,
they
just-
are quite restrained, I think.
Yeah.
You know, they come out of like, you know, the wall basically, you know what I mean? Things like that where, you know, they're there, but they're hidden still.
Building tension.
Building tension.
The unseen tension, which is what good horror movies do.
And this movie had none of.
It didn't. Yeah, there's moments of really good dread. There's moments of really good, you know, tension. But overall, throughout the, you know, the length of the film, it just does not build up to anything. I feel like, you know, it definitely has intriguing ideas and like intriguing philosophy. I mean, it maybe 50-50 for people on that one. Even me, you know, going through the movie, it's pretty 50-50 throughout. It was like, I really like that idea, don't really like that idea too much.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like one of those things. Michael Fassbender's really great.
Yeah, as he is in everything. I did think, though, that in general, this is probably one of his weakest movies. I think that, even for him performance-wise, I mean, I think that we know what to expect from him. From playing David in Prometheus, I thought that his performance in that was great. He does a good job of playing both Walter and David. You know, they're very distinct. They look different. They sound different. They act and react to things differently, so it's never confusing. But I think at the same time, though, I really don't think that the material is very good.
Yeah, the dialogue was really...
Yeah. I don't
really
think he was given the greatest stuff to work with, but, I mean, he does fine. He's Michael Fassbender, but there's much better for Michael Fassbender movies. I don't think it's really, like, worth running out just to see it for him.
Yeah.
Because he's better in other things.
Yeah.
You know, one thing, though, I did really also enjoy, though, as far as Ridley Scott's end, you know, I thought it was shot well, even though I think that Prometheus still had more interesting visuals and visuals that really were captivating or things that you remember. This movie doesn't really have too many, like, even shots or anything that really stick or burn into your memory.
Yeah, very few.
Very, very few. And then I really thought that some of the design-wise, when it comes to the ship and the ship, the Covenant, the way that the crew works, and those are the things that Ridley Scott, I think, handled well with this movie, but it really is just, it's missing all of the good, gooey inside parts that make any movie a great movie or a good movie compared to it just being kind of the same stuff. I was surprised in the way that it's like, it really devolves down into what a lot of horror movies kind of are. And I think really kind of try to rest on its gore, which was weird for a Ridley Scott movie.
It did have some, speaking of gore, it did have some pretty good effects, some really disgusting stuff in it, honestly. I mean, I could have used a little bit more. You can always use a little bit more gore.
Yeah,
but
I think that was a misfire, though, for the Alien audience. I don't think for us that's really what it's about. And like we were saying before, it's that tension. And this movie, I think, really missed the mark in that way.
Yep.
Where, like I said, it just devolved down to a basic horror movie. So, John, you know, we've kind of talked about all the good and bad here in Alien Covenant. What is your final summary and grade for Alien Covenant?
I guess my final summary, you know, I really enjoyed Prometheus. I was really curious to see this movie. It's got Alien in the title. I'm going to go to see it in the theater. And, you know, overall, I felt like the dialogue is really just kind of, really just glossed over. The characters aren't really developed very well. The acting is pretty good. Visuals are great. Xenomorph was teased. I don't know, you know, I'm just really, really lukewarm on this movie to bottom end. I'm gonna settle with a D+ on Alien Covenant.
Yeah, I'm kind of floating in the same area, really, as far as how I feel about this movie. I think it is meh at best and bad when it's bad. But I think that I definitely am not excited to see him do more if this is
what it is.
Yeah, I enjoyed Prometheus much more, flaws and all. I think there's a little less lapses in character judgment, but at the end of the day, though, that movie at least took risks and was at least visually striking, where this movie felt so middle of the road in so many areas. It was really hard to really enjoy anything too particularly about it. And as I've said before, as a big fan of the franchise, there are a lot of things that, as far as the ways they went with the direction of the story, with the xenomorph and stuff, that I really am not a big fan of. So, at the end of the day, this ended up being a pretty benign and boring Alien film, and for me, I'm going to give it a D. Again, just kind of disappointed with this one, but I guess I didn't really have too high of hopes. But I was definitely really curious and was kind of hoping maybe we'd get something at least interesting, and it really wasn't as interesting even as I had hoped. So, guys, that has been our short episode today on Alien Covenant. If you guys have seen Alien Covenant, tell us what you think in the comments. I think I'd love to see this one being maybe a little bit of a polarizer with people. Just because we didn't enjoy it quite as much doesn't mean that you won't necessarily. So, guys, tell us what you think. You can also like and subscribe here on YouTube, and you can find us on Twitter at BacktoFeature and on our Facebook at /BacktoFeature. I'm Giovanni Carlo.
And I'm John Vandaloo.
And I hope to see you guys next time.